doing my Strengthsfinder assessment with me. I just want to kind of go over and see, your position on how my strengths are kind of exemplified in the school setting. So to kind of reiterate my 5 strengths, my number 1 is positivity, strategic, input, ideation, and my 3rd one is achiever. So that was out of order, but that's okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess, how do you see, me exhibit these strengths in the school setting?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of them have been strengths that I've seen in you just in the first 5 weeks of knowing you. Definitely positivity. I think you showed or proved yourself to be, if not the most, one of the most positive people in the class. You're always wearing your yellow hat, always very positive, always optimistic, always very inclusive of others' ideas, and I think that works back into positivity of building up this momentum and building up this feeling that everyone has something good to contribute in our setting. Achiever is something that was also very noticeable right from the beginning, right from orientation week. You always would have something interesting to say, you set yourself apart, and it was obvious that you had a very clear sense of drive and direction. Ideation and working with you just yesterday, and creativity, coming up with brainstorming ideas on the spot. You had things ready to go, things that I knew you couldn't have had come pre-prepared, but you just had them ready to go. You drew from previous experience and actually made really interesting ideas. So I think that's obviously through your strength of ideation. Input, coming to a graduate program, obviously you love learning, you like developing your skill set, developing your knowledge, and I think that has everything to do with input. Collecting knowledge, being interested in different things, that's my understanding of the strength, and I think you've demonstrated that wonderfully. And strategic, it partners really nicely with being positive and optimistic, in that you're happy, you see the good things, but then also you can come down, boil it down to a strategy and execute that. So overall, I think that's an awesome set of strengths. You have both the influencing side, you have the relationship building, and then you also have more of the executing and achiever strengths. So you have all 4, which is amazing. So yeah, you've demonstrated them all quite beautifully.
Thank you. Do any of these strengths kind of surprise you, in your opinion?
I think from what I know from you, no. I think achiever I would have thought would be higher. If you had just said the strengths in any order, I would have thought that achiever would be like either number 1 or 2, because you do have like a very clear drive. You've worked before, you've been very successful, you went to a great school in your undergrad, you're an international student, you've done a lot. I would say maybe more on the strategic thinking side. I would have thought maybe there'd be more there, but you have a nice balance, and that makes sense with the Mackenzie that I've come to know. So nothing too surprising.
Great, thank you, Allie.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Dylan. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to answer these questions about my personality. I'm just gonna go through a couple of them and answer, at your leisure, whatever comes to your mind. So my attributes, my number 1 attribute is positivity. My number 2 is strategic. My number 3 is achiever. My number 4 is input, and my number 5 is ideation. So of these 5, and I kind of showed you before this video a little bit of list about what those mean, which of them really describe me?
I would say the 3 that really describe you are positivity, achievement, and ideation.
Awesome. Can you provide one example of when and how you saw a certain theme in me?
Yeah, so when we used to work together and I sat next to you, I watched you work on a lot of projects where you were given an assignment and no instructions. And I watched you work incredibly hard and be extremely resilient to figure out how to get something done with excellence. And I watched you struggle with it and be resilient and overcome it, and the end result was always phenomenal.
Thank you. Are you surprised at these results?
No, I think in particular the 3 that I highlighted, I think they describe you perfectly.
Great. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I got nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm not terribly surprised after seeing these 5 themes: positivity, strategic, input, ideation, and achiever. I think I definitely possess these traits within my personality. But after some reflection, I've realized that, you know, depending on like the time or point that I had taken the Strengthsfinder assessment, I probably would have answered questions differently. So although I definitely possess these traits, I think that they're a reflection of how I was feeling at that time. So for example, I am very, very positive person, and I talk about this a little bit in my written response and reflection, but I'm not always positive. I mean, I wish I were always positive, but I definitely like put on my black hat sometimes, and I try to look at things with a more critical thought process and more like almost judging perspective in a good way. And you know, I'm strategic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the outcomes are always the best that could be. So I'm human in that sense. I'm really happy with the results that I got in the themes. There's none that I saw and was really kind of like torn about. Maybe input a little bit, because I see myself a bit more of a learner and kind of like naturally fluidly taking in information, and less like an encyclopedia, so to speak. And I understood input to be like just inputs information in themselves, and I'm not quite that structured, I would say. So yeah, I was surprised at how many of my themes fell under kind of like the strategy, the thought process, and I thought more would fall under relationship building, like kind of that overarching umbrella theme. So this has been a really valuable experience, because I've gotten to see other people's perspectives on my traits and how those 5 themes have come to life. But yeah, I really enjoyed this project, and I'm excited to see throughout the rest of the year how these themes and maybe other themes unfold as different circumstances challenge me to react in different ways. Thank you.